Hi everyone, I just want to have a conversation with you. Again, fancy that. But this time I'm going to talk about something that is really, really personal and which I must confess this is my third, fourth attempt at trying to talk about this. The last time the audio just messed up. I don't know why. Can't explain it. It's one of the problems, I guess, that one has when one tries to do sort of feeds like this. So I want to talk about retirement and what retirement means to me. Now, as of tomorrow, which is Friday, I will be, in my view, officially no longer doing client work nor doing advocacy work around child protection issues. And the reason why I've decided to give up at this particular point is because tomorrow happens to be my birthday and I'll be 72 years old. So I'm wanting to eventually stop doing the work that I've been doing for nearly 35 years now because it's exhausting work. It's tiring in every possible way. There's vicarious trauma attached to a lot of the discussions I have with people. So I've decided that I want to free myself up and do other things. Now, I know I could continue doing on. I still feel relatively fit and relatively cognitively non-impaired. So I'm hoping that that will stand me in good stead to do whatever I choose to do next. One of the issues I've had with the word retirement is that it often seems like it's the end of an era, an end of a time, an end of who we are, in fact. And I know that for a lot of men who experience retirement, it's the end of their lives, and sometimes literally the end of their lives. So men find it difficult to cope with what it means to no longer be doing what they've invested so much of their life into, which is a bit sad because they've got family, wives, partners, other things that could have invested more into, but probably didn't because they thought that they were the breadwinner, whatever that means, and they therefore had to bring in the bacon. So I've never been in that situation. There were a period of time, some 15, 20 years ago, where I was doing the majority of the work because my wife was doing a PhD. And that was fine. That was her achieving what she needed to do. And in the latter part of the years, she certainly brought in most of the income as an academic and working for the university. So we've kind of shared the load over the years, even though I do feel a wee bit guilty about the fact that I was off doing my thing for a lot of that time, and my wife was was looking after the kids and doing the run around and that sort of stuff. And there's probably more I could have done. And I think that's one of the things is that when I look back, there's lots of things over which I do feel guilty. And I think it's a helpful process because as we look back over our lives, there are many things that we could have done differently. That in my case, I could have recognised what I had in terms of my family rather than investing a lot of time in my study and my work. And I do regret those moments that I've missed out on because I've had this other focus. I'm not suggesting this other focus hasn't paid off for me because clearly it has, but there are other things I could have done differently that wouldn't have interfered so much with my focus on educating myself and my work. So, and I think that's important, that when we reach a stage in our lives we want to stop doing some of the stuff we've been doing for the majority of our lives, then we need to look back and think about what it is that we could have done differently then. Because as we enter into this new phase of our lives, then we need to think about, well, what is it that is important to me in the new phase? What lessons can I learn from the old phase that I can now take into the new phase? And certainly for me, recognition of my most fabulous wife, my fantastic 5 kids, my friendships that I have, playing golf on Fridays, for example. So there's lots of good stuff that still is ahead that I can start to appreciate more now that I've looked back and realised what I could have done differently. So it's about, I guess, not repeating those old patterns, and perhaps, admittedly, feeling a little bit guilty for the things that I could have done better, I guess. But when it comes to looking forward, what I'd like to look towards is that the phase of my life which has occupied a good part of my working life is now that part has come to an end. But the question I'm asking you, and which I'm considering myself, does that necessarily mean that it is the end? No, it isn't. For me, it's a new beginning. So I don't like the R word because it does seem to tell us that it's the end of something and that we have to go into this stage of our life which becomes more debilitating, that we're separating ourselves from the type of work that we've been doing. That because most of us, men in particular, not just men, but I guess women as well, when they reach the retirement period in their lives, they often feel that they've given up a part of their sense of self, that they've invested so much of who they are into the work that they've done, that that part of them now disappears. It dissipates for some reason. Well, I don't believe that that's necessarily the case, and it certainly isn't the case for me. And the reason why I'm making this video is that these are things that are important to me, but I'm hoping that they're important to you as well, particularly if you've reached that period of your life where you want to stop doing whatever it is that you've been doing. In my case, I've invested so much in my own personal development as a social worker, the work I've done with other people, the work I've done in the community. You know, the fact that I set up a advocacy foundation, I started, no longer involved in that. I set up a child protection party, which I'm no longer involved in as well. So that they were two integral things I've done that were important in terms of forwarding the advocacy and the work I've done around child protection in particular, and putting in place an organisation that I believed would best cater for the needs of that particular cohort. So I feel content that I've done all that, even though in some of those areas it hasn't worked out as I'd imagined it to. But nevertheless, I think I can look back and always think, well, I've done the best I can. I've never received the accolades for any of the work that I've done, and perhaps that's not important, even though as part of my reflection I've often thought about, you know, the lack of recognition that I've received for anything I've done. And that's not a personal thing. That's not me saying, you know, I need to be patted on the back. It's just a reality that I've done all these things that I'm very proud of, but I've never received any recognition for, I guess. That doesn't matter now, and I'm not after that. You know, when I look back at my practice and the things that I've done in terms of the range of things, working for employees assistance programs, seeing 6 people a day, working with some of the most fabulous counsellors that you can imagine, and working with some of the most fantastic social workers that I know of, and the places that I've had to travel to as a result of the work that I've done as a social worker, from working for 4 months up in Queensland and in Rockhampton, in the worst job in the world, but the best paid job in the world, working on mine sites, you know, whether it be Santos or Oz Minerals, and working with some of the most incredible, down-to-earth people that you could possibly ever meet. The privileges I've had of working in a variety of environments that not many social workers would have the opportunity to do. To be in private practice for over 20 years, when most social workers struggle to be in private practice, particularly prior to Medicare being available and the accreditation as a mental health social worker. So I've had some wonderful opportunities. I've worked for years with in domestic violence and with the Vietnam Vets Counselling Service as an outreach counsellor, and I've run many courses, and I've written 25 programs that deal with anything from anxiety and stress to relationship building to divorce and separation to an anger management program. And I've been blessed because I've had all of these wonderful opportunities to do the things that I could do that best utilised my talents. And I'm grateful for all of that. So as I look back, and if you're watching this and thinking about retirement as well, it's really important to look back on that part of your life and what it has meant to you, and how hopefully it has benefited so many other people, not just you. So that's been good. And that's been exciting to be able to look back and be grateful and to be recognise myself at least what I've been able to accomplish. I've been blessed. I've had a wonderful partner, got fabulous kids. It's been a terrific journey. So what does it mean then to go forward from this point? So I don't see retirement as the end of something. I actually see it as the beginning of something new. That in front of me sits an opportunity to do something that is in keeping with the values and principles that I've developed over the years about who I am and how I should best represent the people that come to have conversations with me. So what does all of that mean? Well, for the last 12 months in particular, I've been developing ways by which I can hopefully tell other people's stories. So one of the things I want to do from now on is to develop skills in terms of videography, to be able to tell people's stories rather than just listening to them and working through the issues that they present. I want to be able to hear their stories and tell them through video form or through documentary. So this presents a whole range of problems. Number one, I don't know much about using a camera, using one now. I've bought a very expensive camera, perhaps a bit over the top, in fact, for what I need to do for these YouTube videos, but a really good camera that can help me to do the videography stuff that I want to do. I've got the lighting, I've got the software. I use DaVinci Resolve for post-production, and I've got the software that I use for this particular broadcast, which is Wirecast. So I've got everything together. I don't understand how to use it though, to be frank. But that's the challenge. The challenge for me is to find a new way to be able to challenge myself. I'm not cognitively impaired, even though some people might argue I am, but I'm still available. I'm still able to, rather, work out what I need to do to problem solve some of the things that I need to do given this new environment that I've now found myself. And I find it exciting to be able to think about what is it that I can do that's benefiting my talents, using my talents in terms of the experience that I have, and how can I use that in ways now which are different from what I used to do. Now, one of the questions that often I think about is like, is it possible to monetize what it is that I'm doing? Do I need to monetize what I'm doing? I probably don't need to monetize it, but I do believe that if you're doing something that's benefiting others and you're enjoying doing it, regardless of your age. So if I was doing this when I was 25, would I want to benefit from it in terms of monetizing? Yeah, I would. Of course I would. I've got a family to support and lots of other things to do. Yes, I would want to make sure that I could make some money from it. Do I need to think of that now that I'm retiring? No, I probably don't. But should I be rewarded for what I'm doing? Yes, I should. No, everybody should. No matter what you're doing, you don't have to finish retirement, go on to the pension, or if you're a self-funded retiree, to use up your money and your resources that way. Why can't you go off and do other stuff, different stuff? That means that you can still earn income. So it doesn't have to be a massive income, but it certainly could be something that you could be benefiting from financially, because that is kind of the reward for doing what it is that you do. So sitting in front of me right now sits wonderful opportunities, I think. And what I want to do is to convey to people that if you reach that period where you're giving up your past stuff, to at least look ahead. Because looking ahead can provide you with opportunities that you may not have ever considered. Learning different things, doing different things, seeing and viewing the world differently through a different set of eyes is really perhaps a really helpful thing that you can do. I don't know what that means. For some people it might be taking up art. For others, it might be doing some writing. For others, it might be engaging in community activities and community work. So there are opportunities out there, and that when we reach a certain age and we choose to give up our past, doesn't mean it's the end. In fact, I fervently believe it can be the beginning. And there's still so much more that we can discover about ourselves, that we don't start to think that this is it. From this moment on, I've done all that I can do, I've achieved all that I can achieve, and therefore there's nothing more that I can do. There are many people who have reached a certain age and thought, well, there's still much more that I can do. What is it that I can achieve that perhaps I haven't achieved to date? How I can use the talents and abilities that I've accumulated over those years and extend them into other interesting and fascinating areas. And that's what I'm planning to do. So I'd like to know what you're planning to do. If you've reached this age where you're thinking of giving up whatever you've been doing for X number of years, your profession, what is it that you would like to do? And how will it develop you and benefit those people that are around you? So if you agree with me, if you've got a comment to make, please make a comment below. And particularly if I'd like you to subscribe to my channel. There's lots of stuff I will be doing in terms of social comments about stuff, and you'll probably, if you've looked at any of other YouTubes, you'll understand what I'm doing there. I also want to do some stuff, not just about telling people's stories, but also I want to do a lot more stuff around the commentary and the personal development stuff. There's lots of stuff I've benefited from and I've experienced over the years. In fact, I've written some 25 programs around anxiety and stress, anger management, separation and divorce, and a range of other stuff, including workplace bullying. Well, I wrote one of the first programs ever around that. So there's many things that I've done, and I wish to be able to find ways to express those through this format. So if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be fabulous. And if you'd want to email me, you can email me on this particular email address. So thanks everybody for being with me. Let me know what you think. Comments below. If you've got any ideas or anything that you'd like me to think about, that you would like to have discussed, that's fine. If you've got some ideas you'd like to come onto my channel and talk to me about what those ideas are, I'd love to hear from you. If you've got a story that you'd like to tell, I'll be happy to video that for you as well and put that in a documentary form. So let me know what you think. And I just want to say to you in the end that it is important never ever to give up on where you wish to go in your life. There are always new opportunities, and there's a new way of viewing how your life can possibly develop. Not end, but develop. So thanks everybody for being with me. Take care, look after yourselves, and be safe.